Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Vonik Tood. Topping news tonight as Tropical Storm Irma battered parts of Florida and headed to Georgia. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and other senior government officials traveled to the southeast Bahamas today to get a first-hand look of the damage sustained on those far-flung islands. The first stop on government officials' post-storm assessment trip today was Acklins, which was ravaged by Hurricane Irma. Residents who opted to ride out the storm at home instead of heeding warnings to evacuate told our Jasmine Brown that they witnessed storm surges 15 to 20 feet. Additionally, several homes were either destroyed or extensively damaged. The majority of damage was reported in Salina Point, which is said to have no power supply and phone service and is in desperate need of water. Irma moved into Bahamian waters as a powerful Category 5 hurricane, hitting Acklins, Mayaguana, Inagua, Long Key, Ragged Island, and Crooked Island. Over on Crooked Island, homes suffered minor roof damage. Captain Robbie Gibson, who stuck it out at home, says Hurricane Irma was a hell of a storm.
Boy, that was a rough one, but seeing that we passed through walking, we had a good idea. So I decided to stick it out and take care of my dogs and my ducks and stuff, what I mean?
Your wife was with you?
No, she's in Nassau. She went to take care of the grandkid,
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted me to come up too, but I said somebody got to kind of be around to watch and see what happened and take care of the dog and the ducks too, you know what I mean?
Despite the Prime Minister's call for residents in the southern islands to evacuate and seek shelter in New Providence, 107 residents of Crooked Island decided to stay put. However, Gibson says God was good to them.
I know we wasn't going to get the eye here, you know what I mean? If the eye was coming here, I would have been gone, you know what I mean? Because I realized, that this storm was really a hell of a storm, you know what I mean? You can't take no chance, right on the water here. I live right here. See, that's my house right there. But God was good to us, you know what I mean? And we ride the storm, you know what I mean? I didn't lose a shingle off of my house.
However, Gibson says his sister wasn't so lucky.
My sister's house, she lost like half of the roof on one side of the roof, blown away. But some people lose some shingle here, there, but it wasn't no big to do, you know what I mean? So we gotta thank God, man, for everything, you know what I mean? We just hope Jose go back where he coming from.
Unlike Acklins, Crooked Island Administrator Leonard Dames Jr. says the island still has essential services.
Crooked Island has full power, it has full water supply, it has full data service, cell service, land service, and basically all the communication and all the utilities, they're in place. So the residents in Crooked Island, they're more in a more normal living conditions at this time.
Dames, who evacuated with other residents, says while there was only minimal damage on the island, residents should always take warnings and evacuation orders seriously.
We ought to caution all residents that whenever an alert goes out about a hurricane, especially if we evacuate, we would want to advise them to take heed and follow the advice. So it was only to the mercies of the good Lord that hurricane didn't come and they didn't really.
And quickly, what message would you want to send to those coming back who evacuated their homes and how Crooked Island is right now?
Well, the message I want to bring back to the ones who are coming back is that they have the necessary, like I said earlier, utilities in place, the water, telephone, and light. Some of the roofs are damaged, but of course they're happy and they're glad and elated just to get back, and they would be able to work with what they have.
The Prime Minister also visited Ragged Island today. Our Jasmine Brown is traveling with government officials. We'll have the details of that trip in a later newscast. Grand Bahama may have been directly spared Hurricane Irma's wrath. However, tornadoes slammed that island and Bimini on Sunday, causing severe damage to several businesses and homes. Residents claim they received no warning. April Sands reports.
Well, Dean suggesting that it would have been relatively impossible for him or his team to have predicted those devastating tornadoes that touched down in Bimini and Freeport. Well, some residents of Grand Bahama are outraged after a tornado touched down on the island without warning around 12:45 Sunday afternoon, damaging commercial buildings, an apartment complex, and several homes, and impacting an estimated 100 residents.
Tornado.
Residents captured and circulated vivid images of the tornado, ripping through parts of Grand Bahama, causing extensive roof damage. Deputy Director of the Department of Meteorology, Basil Dean, was asked whether warnings were issued.
Knowing how quickly they develop, knowing how devastating they can be, and knowing the fact that you have little or no time to get those kind of warnings out. And if I may put it to you, if I were to tell you just now that a tornado is going to touch down in 7 minutes, tell me what would be your course of action? It's just one of those things in nature that we have to live with.
Assessment teams from the National Emergency Management Agency were dispatched to the impacted areas in Grand Bahama last evening and reported that 12 homes in Imperial Park and Tamarind Street suffered damage, along with an 8-unit building on East Beach Drive. A tornado also slammed Bimini, according to residents Indira Russell, who says she witnessed frightening activity in her backyard around 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Speaking with our news team from her home in Baileytown via phone, today Russell says she couldn't believe her eyes.
It was actually in my backyard. I'm about a half-mile radius on both ends from where most of the destruction was, so I was kind of in the middle of it. I had minimal damage. Most of the damage was from shutters coming from other person's home or from the roof that hit against the outside of the wall, so I have huge holes in the outside of the wall where the plywood would have struck and made holes.
Now,
One of the cars in the yard, windshield from the back and the front, were broken out as well.
Island Administrator for Bimini, Kate Williamson, says between the tornado on Sunday and Hurricane Irma's winds, there was extensive damage on the island, which was without power supply this morning. Dean explains, though, why the weather conditions were just right for a tornado.
Embedded in hurricanes are tornadic activities, and hence the reason for persons taking the necessary precaution to remain indoors. However, unlike hurricanes, which we have days in order to prepare for its arrival, tornadoes, unfortunately, do not give you that luxury. Tornadoes are very small, very compact, very violent storms, and they are known for creating the kind of damage that they do. So it's difficult to really find any kind of rationale as to why you could not have gotten more warning when tornadoes develop rather quickly.
Dean also insisted that there's only one Met Department responsible for several islands.
For us to focus specifically on any one single event affecting any one single island is near impossible when we have multiple islands under a hurricane watch, and all of them need the same kind of attention, if you may. But to give the kind of detailed attention to each specific island and each specific community, it's completely impossible.
As for those Bimini residents impacted by the tornado, Williamson tells us cleanup of the tiny island has already begun. Reporting for OUR News, I'm April Sands.
There is still no official date for the 1,000-plus evacuees from the southern islands to return home. While NEMA has announced that evacuees will return at the expense of government, many of them are eager to know when that is going to be. Giorgio Bain reports.
Many evacuees here at the New Providence Community Center have already seen photos and videos of the damage Hurricane Irma left on their islands, and now they are ready to return home. Assistant Director of MPCC, Leonard Cargill, says tensions at the center are beginning to rise among the 155 evacuees being housed at the shelter. But he and his team are doing everything they can to keep everyone calm.
I think they're ready, they're ready. And of course the staff here, they've been outstanding, and catering to a large group of people on a consistent basis, so there will be a little tensions, but we are trained to really resolve tension and stuff, so that we've been doing that. So.
Brenda Demingstein, who is a resident of Salina Point, Acklands, said while she's grateful for the opportunity to stay at the shelter, she's been haunted by pictures and videos she's received via social media, and now she's ready to go home to see the damage firsthand.
We had casket who come up, who the wave did wash out the graveyard. Then we have house was smack and smooth. We have house where window was just knock out, you know, doors were sweep out and house was flooded out with water. Yes, I'm ready to go back home and get started.
Evacuee resident Akeisha Sims is also staying at the shelter with her 3 children. She says from the few videos she's seen, her settlement of Abraham's Bay appears to have fared well, but she's curious to see the damage to her house.
A few videos and a few pictures. There wasn't no major damage, just a few shingles. I mean, 1 or 2 of the churches get part of the roof blown off, but nothing major. A few trees were taken down. Some water, where the boat is coming to Mabel, the road, you can't pass like that because of the debris in the road, but nothing major. Even though we're here and we're comfortable, there's no place like home. So I'm ready and wait to go back home.
D'Angelo Knowles from Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, is also anxious to get home after seeking shelter at MPCC for nearly a week.
I saw one of the containers that one of the young mothers was living in, but some severe damages, and someone took a picture of the house I was living in. I am living in actually, and I saw like some of the trees. One of the almond tree broke down on top of the building, and some of the canvas blew. Some of the men is needed up there to really help with the heavy moving of trees and different stuff like that. But Irene left behind. I mean, Irma left behind, so I ready to go back to try to get up started.
OUR News also visited those evacuees over at the Kendall G.L. Isaacs Gym, and according to the Assistant Director of the Department of Social Services, Salome Gibson, those residents are more than ready to go.
Yes, they are all asking the same question, when are we leaving? And I told everybody, we're not going to keep you here a day longer or even a second longer than you need to be. But we have to make sure that where they're going back is safe.
Theolophus Sanders is from Porgy Bay, Bimini, and says from the videos he has seen, he fears for his house that he didn't get to secure before leaving the island. Sanders says he's never seen so much water on the tiny island in his life.
I don't know what condition my own is in, because I didn't get the button up before I came. Maybe the windows are gone, so I have to do some renovation to those. A 2-story building, so I don't know how bad its condition is. I hope everybody's safe at home. I hope I can get back home as quick as possible so I can be able to do some stuff at home. I feel for the rest of the Bahama Islands, Freeport as one. They get hit so constantly. I have a regard for those people that maybe can help themselves.
Dinez Jones is from Matthewtown, Inagua, and says he was hesitant to leave the island, and now he's ready to go back and rebuild.
We're very eager to get back because we also have businesses. So much of us are ready to go back to see if any damage was done to our businesses, our homes, of course. And I did speak with someone who is there. And so fortunately my home and our business wasn't too damaged. Some water got into the house, they mentioned, and obviously our pets and little small livestock and garden, So we expect that there's going to be some work to be done. I heard there's a lot of trees that fell, a lot of coastal damage.
However, Terrence Daxon of Pirates Well Evacuee thinks everyone should just relax.
Well, I understand that we have some damages, and they told us used to rush to go back home because they still need to do access and all of that, and they need to get the power lines and everything back up and running. And well, I don't think it's any rush to go back there. We don't have no power, no supply or nothing. We don't know how our home is. So if you are comfortable, getting feed and everything like that, appreciate it. What God has done, life was lost. The people here is helping us out. So we need to just relax.
Reporting for OUR News, I'm Georgie Obey.
Well, now that assessments have begun on those islands hit hardest by Irma, there is an urgent need to get building and food supplies into those communities. Joaquin tells us more.
These large drums just behind me were dropped off by Bahama's Power and Light. Now they're just one of many on the long list of much-needed supplies for those islands hardest hit by Hurricane Irma.
Food is the most important thing right now, so that's what we're trying to do right now is load up with some food stuff and take some stuff up to BEC so they can get back up and running.
Potter's Key Dock will be booming with activity in the coming days. After getting some extreme weather from Hurricane Irma, Bimini is set to finally receive supplies and food. Captain Sean Monroe of the Cerise M said his boat will leave tonight for the tiny island, whose people, according to Monroe, are in desperate need.
Well, the hardest part right now, the communication is still down in Bimini, so everybody is only on cell phones. The power is still down. And, they're going through transition with the shutting down of Royal Bank. So them trying to get funds to Nassau, have the agencies out, is a challenge right now. But we're starting to get some freight out, and hopefully we'll be able to get some food stuff to the Bimini people by Wednesday morning.
If you've ever lived on a family island, you'd know how important the mailboat service is to those residents. Captain Monroe said once the boat returns from Bimini, they'll take on more freight and head right back out.
Oh, we're trying to be right back in Nassau on Thursday. Like I said, we are monitoring Jose. If Jose isn't a threat, we're going to try and do a trip again on Friday. Worst case scenario, it would be the following week.
The Lady Matilda and President Taylor leave for Mayaguana and Inagua tomorrow and Friday. The owner of the two boats says as a native of the island, he knows those people are in need.
Very important. They look forward. The only way they have to get any supplies to the island is by the mailboat, especially Mayaguana and Inagua.
Thankfully, he says there were evacuations.
The majority of people on both of the island is in Nassau, so the need is not as great as if they were there.
Captains Monroe and Taylor say they know the next few weeks will be crazy for them, but for those in need on the islands, it's all worth it. For OUR News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Irma is now behind us, but officials are now keeping an eye on Hurricane Jose. It was reported the Category 2 storm has winds up to 105 miles per hour and was expected to make a U-turn by the end of the week, posing a threat to the Bahamas and Florida. The storm is now currently 305 miles to the northeast of Grand Turk, but according to Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean, there should be no cause for alarm.
Well, we expect Jose to slow down and meander out there in the Atlantic for several days, as a matter of fact, for the balance of this week. And looking at a number of the models, the majority are in agreement that Jose will meander for several days and perhaps even make a loop. But at the completion of that loop, those models are still pushing Jose towards the northwest.
Dean says they are giving it until Friday for a more legitimate update on the storm.
To put your mind at ease, we anticipate the balance of this week being free of Jose. It wouldn't be until about Friday, maybe Saturday, before we know exactly where that turn will take Jose.
Still to come on OUR News, if your property sustained damage, what you should know before visiting your insurance company. So stay with us.